Dumbest Ways to Die, Part 1. In 1993, a Canadian lawyer named Gary Hoy claimed to a group of students that the windows in his building were unbreakable. To prove this, he threw himself at the window at full force. While the glass didn't break, the frame popped out and Gary fell 24 stories to his death. The man who once had the longest beard in the world died after he accidentally stepped on it and broke his neck. In 2010, an MI6 agent was found naked and dead inside of a padlocked bag in his London home. Police concluded that he accidentally locked himself in the bag and died as a result. In Houston, Texas, a 19-year-old man named Rashad died while attempting to play Russian roulette. Apparently, he didn't know how the game worked since he tried using a semi-automatic pistol instead of a revolver. Morbid Facts, Part 367. There's typically an IQ minimum of 80 points to serve in the U.S. military. But to meet the manpower requirements of the Vietnam War, the U.S. Army loosened up on this policy and began recruiting soldiers with mental disabilities. These men were known as McNamara's morons and died at 5 times the rate of other Americans in the war. This is also what the character Forrest Gump was based on. A suicide bomber in Afghanistan was thwarted by a stray dog which barked and snarled at the man, causing him to prematurely detonate at the entrance. The dog was then flown to the United States and appeared on Oprah before being adopted. But tragically, she ran away from home and was captured by an animal shelter which ended up euthanizing her by mistake. In 1943, Polish ballerina Francesca Mann arrived at Auschwitz. When ordered to take off her clothes, she did so provocatively to divert the attention of the guards. While the roll call officer was distracted, she grabbed his gun and shot the man in the head. She then managed to wound another guard before other prisoners joined her rebellion until they were all shot dead. Morbid Facts, Part 347. In 1996, mountain climber Beck Weathers and his team attempted to scale Mount Everest. But after coming down with a bad case of snow blindness, Weathers got stuck in a severe blizzard with a wind chill of -100 degrees and soon fell into a hypothermic coma. He miraculously survived but had to have his nose and both hands amputated as a result of severe frostbite. Nicknamed Mr. Titanic, this was the last photo taken of French diver and Titanic expert Paul-Henri Nargeolet. He saw the Titanic 37 different times before dying on his 38th trip on board OceanGate's Titan submersible. In 1986, a young Indian flight attendant named Nirja Banat was on a plane that was hijacked. The terrorists were targeting Americans, so she hid the passports of all 44 Americans on board. Instead of saving herself, she helped the other passengers escape and died while shielding 3 children from a hail of gunfire. One of those children is now a captain for a major airline and says that Banat was his #1 inspiration. Morbid Facts, Part 359. In 1955, 24-year-old actor James Dean died in a car crash while driving his Porsche 550 Spider, which he nicknamed Little Bastard. After the accident, the car was towed to a garage in Los Angeles, and while it was being repaired, it fell off its jack and crushed a mechanic's legs. The engine and transmission were later sold to 2 professional racers, both of whom later crashed their vehicles during the same race and were seriously injured. The car's tires were also sold, and the new owner was eventually killed in yet another car crash. Over time, the stories of deaths and injuries associated with the car led to rumors of a curse. Some believed that the car was haunted and that anyone who came into contact with it would suffer misfortune. But in 1960, the car disappeared while being transported from Miami to Los Angeles. The car has never been found, and its whereabouts remain a mystery to this day.
We have noticed a lot of you aren't subscribed. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the video. Thank you.
Morbid Facts, Part 361. In 2011, Chicago man Robert Lyons bludgeoned his mother with a champagne bottle before relentlessly stabbing her and pouring chemicals all over her body. He did this all because she refused to buy him skybox tickets for an upcoming Avril Lavigne concert. Robert was 39 years old at the time. This was the last photo taken of resistance leader Chiang Bin-Hua just moments before she was executed by bayonet. She led a Chinese guerrilla movement against the Japanese during the invasion of her country before she was captured in 1938. While in captivity, the 24-year-old was brutally tortured and gang raped by several guards but died with a defiant smile on her face. In In 2022, 70-year-old Maya Murma was collecting water in India when an elephant suddenly trampled her. She was quickly rushed to the hospital, but ended up dying from her catastrophic injuries. When family members gathered for her funeral, the same elephant appeared, threw Murmu's body into the air, and trampled it again. Here are some morbid facts about Albert Einstein. Around 1902, Einstein had an illegitimate child named Lee Searle with his future wife Mileva. Very little is known about the girl other than that she was mentally disabled and died from infection at a very young age. In all likelihood, Albert never met the girl in person. Her existence was only discovered in 1987 through a collection of letters. Soon afterwards, the relationship was falling apart, so Einstein made Mileva sign a contract to help work things out. It had multiple conditions such as that my clothes and laundry are kept in good order, that I will receive my 3 meals regularly in my room, and that my bedroom and study are kept neat at all times. After those two eventually got divorced, Einstein married the daughter of his mother's sister, making them first cousins. Despite being very smart, Albert's second son Edward was diagnosed with schizophrenia and described by his father as an insoluble problem. He was sent to a mental asylum at the age of 20 and remained there for the next 35 years before dying of a stroke in 1965. Morbid Sports Facts, Part 2. In 1989, the Buffalo Sabres goalie had his neck sliced by another player's skate, severing his carotid artery. It resulted in so much blood loss that 11 fans fainted, 2 had heart attacks, and 3 players puked on the ice. His life was saved by the team medic, who luckily served in the Vietnam War as a combat medic. In 1962, a Cuban boxer named Benny Perret made fun of his opponent Emil Griffith for being a homosexual. Griffith ended up beating Perret so badly that he fell into a coma and died 10 days after the fight. In 1973, the U.S. Army developed an anti-tank grenade by hollowing out a Nerf football and filling it with explosives. However, the ball never made it to the battlefield since the explosives gave it an unpredictable flight. In 1977, the University of Evansville men's basketball team was involved in a tragic plane crash. The crash killed every player on the team except for one man who didn't make the trip due to an injury. 2 weeks later, that only remaining player was killed by a drunk driver. Morbidly Wholesome Facts, Part 62. 2 of Kurt Cobain's best friends, Mark Lanegan and Dylan Carson, say that Courtney Love saved their lives after Kurt's death. They were struggling addicts at the time, and Courtney felt that Kurt would want them to be saved. So she decided to support them both morally and financially so that they could go to rehab and turn their lives around. A man's dying wish was to be buried on his Harley Davidson in a glass casket so that his rider friends could see his final ride. If a pregnant mother suffers organ damage, the baby in the womb sends stem cells to repair the damaged organ. While on death row for killing a police officer in 1987, Tennessee man Philip Workman was told to make his last meal request. But instead of a meal for himself, he wanted a pizza to be donated to a local homeless person. His final request was denied, and Workman refused to eat anything before he was executed that night. But the next day, homeless shelters across Tennessee received thousands of donated pizzas from people all over the state honoring Workman's last request. Morbid Facts, Part 364. When Theo Von was born in 1980, his dad Roland was 70 years old. Theo says he was always afraid to develop a relationship with Roland because he knew his dad would die when he was at a young age. His father ended up dying in an accidental shooting accident when Theo was 16 years old. British man Andrew Haig was sentenced to life in prison earlier this year after beating his 50-year-old neighbor to death with a bag of Pokemon cards. The two had gotten into an argument after Haig's neighbor accused him of being a pedophile. In 2012, Texas nurse Kimberly Sains was sentenced to life in prison after killing 5 of her patients by injecting bleach into their dialysis lines. Here are some of the distress calls that were painted onto houses during Hurricane Katrina in 2005. Many refused to evacuate their homes because they weren't allowed to bring any pets into sheltering areas. The Category 5 hurricane ended up taking the lives of around 1,400 people and 500,000 pets. Morbid Facts, Part 366. During the 1980s, Rebecca Schaefer was the star of the popular CBS sitcom My Sister Sam. But in 1989, she was fatally shot in the doorway of her West Hollywood apartment by an obsessed fan who had been stalking her for over 3 years. The 21-year-old's death led to the passing of some of the first anti-stalking laws in America. This devastating photo was taken by Tom Stoddard during the Sudanese famine in 1998. It shows a well-nourished Sudanese man stealing a bag of corn from a starving child after it was given to him by a charity. Here's a photo of the unidentified victims of John Wayne Gacy being laid to rest at a mass funeral. In 2006, 18-year-old Ryan Waller was shot in the face during a Phoenix home invasion. His girlfriend was killed, but Ryan somehow survived. However, police mistakenly treated Ryan as a suspect, not a victim. Despite a severe bullet wound in his head, Ryan was interrogated for hours and denied medical treatment. He eventually passed away as a result of the horrific negligence.
We have noticed a lot of you aren't subscribed. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the video. Thank you.
Morbid Facts, Part 368. These are the hands of Japanese serial killer Tsutomu Miyazaki. He was born with a rare birth defect that caused his hand joints to be fused together, preventing him from being able to bend his wrists upwards. Two Mice Eating Cheese is the name of London's smallest statue, which commemorates two construction workers who died in 1862. They were scuffling over a missing sandwich that resulted in both of them falling off the scaffolding. Turns out it was just stolen by mice. The movie Jaws directly contributed to a surge in shark hunting and a massive drop in shark populations. Author Peter Benchley deeply regretted writing Jaws, saying, "Knowing what I know now, I could never write that book today. Sharks don't target human beings, and they certainly don't hold grudges." Today, sharks kill only around 10 humans per year, but humans kill around 11,000 sharks every hour. A 34-year-old man with ALS completely lost the ability to move anything, including his eyes. When a brain chip finally allowed him to communicate again, the first thing he said was, "I need a beer." Morbid Facts, Part 371. In the case that Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin were left stranded on the moon, NASA planned on cutting off communication with them. They didn't want to record how the men chose to die, leaving them to either run out of oxygen or take their own lives with no further earthly contact. FDNY Ladder 3 was one of the first units to show up at the World Trade Center on 9/11. Its crew of 11 men sadly perished in the collapse of the North Tower, and now their truck is on display in the 9/11 Museum. In April of 2015, 28-year-old Shayna Sims gained access to a funeral home in Tulsa, Oklahoma. She pretended to be a makeup artist to access the body of Tabitha Lynch. Apparently, Shayna resented Lynch and suspected that her husband had been having an affair with her. So as payback, Sims decided to mutilate Lynch's body, cutting up her face and removing multiple organs and chunks of her hair. Court sentenced her to 16 years in prison for unlawfully removing a body part from a corpse. Insane War Tactics, Part 1. When going to battle against enemies riding elephants, the Indian Rajputs would put fake trunks on their horses, making them appear as baby elephants, which the enemy's elephants refused to attack. During the Cold War, CIA agents used a secret method of communication based on how their shoelaces were tied. In 1973, the U.S. Army developed an anti-tank grenade by hollowing out a Nerf football and filling it with explosive charges. But the ball never made it to the battlefield since the explosives gave it an unpredictable flight. Many warships used to be painted like optical illusions. The purpose of this dazzle camouflage was not to conceal the ship, but rather to mislead the enemy by making the ship's speed and range more difficult to estimate, much to the same effect as patterns seen on zebras, giraffes, and jaguars. These are some morbid facts about Disney World. Disney's first water park, called River Country, closed permanently in 2001 after an 11-year-old boy died from a brain-eating parasite he got in the lake. The park still lies completely abandoned to this day. The actor who used to play Gaston at Disney World Orlando accidentally killed himself by attempting to shoot fireworks off his head. Disney World is one of the most popular places on Earth for scattering ashes. It happens so frequently that employees have a special code word to report it for cleanup. A study conducted in 2016 concluded that the Thunder Mountain Railroad reliably helps people pass kidney stones. In 2010, a restaurant manager at Disneyland Paris took his own life after working a shift. Before doing so, he left a note on the wall that translated to, "I don't want to go back to Mickey ever again." Morbid Facts, Part 310. In 2003, a skeleton measuring 6 inches long was found in a remote part of Chile's Atacama Desert. Due to its elongated skull and rather developed bones considering its size, the specimen was initially rumored to be an alien. But after extensive testing, scientists determined that it was more likely the skeleton of a stillborn human girl that had close to 70 different genetic mutations. According to a recent study, people in the US who were born before 1996 have a slightly lower IQ than those born afterwards. This is due to the negative effects of leaded gasoline, which was finally banned completely on January 1st, 1996. In 1924, gifted college students Leopold and Loeb planned out the perfect murders simply to demonstrate their superior intellectual abilities. But after kidnapping and murdering a child, they left an abundance of evidence and were swiftly convicted of murder. Morbid Facts, Part 313. After Star Wars The Phantom Menace was released in 1999, Jar Jar Binks quickly became the most hated character in the franchise. The backlash was so devastating for Ahmed Best, the actor who played him, that he nearly took his own life. The first chainsaw was invented by two Scottish doctors in the year 1780. It was originally used to help open up the pelvis during childbirth. In 1958 North Carolina, a white girl told her parents that she kissed two black boys aged 9 and 7 on the cheeks. The girl's father then arranged a mob to go to the boys' homes where they threatened to lynch them and their parents. Soon enough, police showed up where they proceeded to arrest and severely beat the young boys. Charged with rape, they were placed in jail for 6 days without being allowed any contact with their parents. They were detained for nearly 4 months before finally being pardoned by the governor. It's infamously known as the kissing case of 1958. Morbidly Wholesome Facts, Part 57. A sheep-herding dog named Casper faced off against 11 threatening coyotes and killed 8 of them on the farm. He then went missing for 2 days, most likely to track the remaining coyotes and finish the job. His vet said he's incredibly lucky to be alive, while his owner agreed to let him retire. During World War II, a German pilot spotted an American pilot's crippled plane in the sky. He noticed that the gunner was dead, the crew was injured, and that they didn't pose any threat. So instead of destroying the plane, he led it to safety and spared the men's lives. 40 years later, the two pilots reunited and became fishing buddies. After TV star Jack Benny died in 1974, his widow Mary received a red rose in the mail. After several days of receiving a new rose each day, she finally called to find out who was sending them. The florist told her that Jack had arranged for a new rose to be sent to her every day until she died. Badasses of History, Part 12. After having his leg amputated due to cancer, 21-year-old Terry Fox started running across Canada to raise money for cancer research. Every day he ran a full marathon for 143 straight days until his cancer worsened, forcing him to stop. He ran a total of 3,338 miles, and his fundraiser has helped raise more than $600 million to date. Ludmila Pavlichenko, the most successful female sniper in history, struggled to pull the trigger on her first few kills. But that all changed when she saw a German soldier shoot a young Russian boy. She said, "He was such a nice, happy boy. After that, nothing could stop me." She went on to record 309 confirmed kills against the Nazis. During World War II, American Private Edward Ahrens was found clutching a sword surrounded by 13 dead Japanese soldiers. Clinging on to life, his last words were, "I guess they didn't know I was a Marine." Insane Crimes, Part 5. A 29-year-old Florida woman managed to impersonate a registered nurse for months, slipping into a hospital job while using someone else's license number. During that time, she treated more than 4,000 patients, taking vitals, administering medications, and performing procedures she wasn't trained for. Staff only uncovered the truth when she was offered a promotion and her credentials didn't add up. Investigators later learned she'd been working on the floor for far longer than anyone realized, blending in so well that no one questioned her until she tried to move up. She now faces multiple felony charges, while thousands of patients are being notified that the person who cared for them wasn't a nurse at all. At Disney Springs, a bizarre robbery unfolded straight out of a heist movie in September of 2025. A man in full scuba gear swam up to the Paddlefish restaurant after midnight, snuck inside, and forced 2 employees to the ground as they were counting cash. He stole over $10,000, then slipped back into the water and vanished beneath the surface, escaping the same way he arrived. When police got there, all they found were wet footprints, discarded dive gear, and 2 shaken employees tied up inside. To this day, the aquatic thief hasn't been identified.